So what we're going to do next is take a look at what's inside the aeration basin control building, and that's where the professionals that work here have the job of monitoring the oxygen levels here, the density and the diversity of the microorganisms that are here. So they fall into different guilds of feeding guilds and structures. And they take those organisms and say, okay, do we need more of this kind or more of that kind? And they take samples in a cup, and there's some cup samplers around. I don't see any right here. But take a cup of this liquid, go in and look under the microscope and do essentially what we did in the Kingdoms lab, is to find out what's in there and how dense they are. And if there's too many of them, they pull some off. And if there's too few of them, they add some more in. That's pretty neat, really. This is a chance for people who work in biology and microbiology, actually have a lot of great careers coming out of water treatment. They have pretty reasonable pay. The job is not so auspicious as some others, but it actually turns out to be a great career once you get over the smell thing, which you do. So. Oh wait, you know, this is the best room ever. There's even a, do you mind if we videotape? Oh, come on in! So in this room, the professionals that work here would be taking a look at the composition of the organisms. See, we have a microscope over here in the corner. There's a microscope, you have sampling goes. You take a look at the chart up here. It's a chart that represents some of the different organisms that would be found in here. So, you've seen the step screens, you've seen the primary clarifier and the aeration basin. This is the secondary clarifier system. This is where the water is brought from the aeration basin with all those organisms floating in it, right? All that activated sludge, it's going to come off of there and into here. Now the nice thing is when you compare trying to get out toxic materials or dangerous materials to humans out of just raw sewage sludge, it's a lot harder to get it out of that than it is to get it out of activated sludge, which is a bunch of organisms that have incorporated this into their bodies. So in this area, what they do is put some material is in here, some flocculants, to gather those organisms together and then pull them out of the water. So essentially then you have light material floating on the top again and heavy material going to the bottom. Now some of the organisms that come out of here will go back into the aeration basin if they need more organisms there. They have a lot more water coming in, they're going to have to ship them back there. If not, if they have plenty of microorganisms, they'll ship them over to that square building there behind me. And that square building is where the aerobic digesters are. The aerobic digesters are those that actually use oxygen to break down all the microorganisms. And they do that through cannibalism, that is eating each other. And so that's going to be on the ceiling. It's like a nice big Olympic-sized pool on the roof of that building. And those are the aerobic digesters. Now from here though, you're taking out the organisms and then pretty much this water is ready to go back to the Colorado River with the exception of some chlorine addition. The chlorine's going to kill the organisms that are left in there. The chlorine's then going to be pulled out. Well, take that back. Chlorine goes in and then it's dechlorinated and then it goes back into Persigo wash. So from here we go to the chlorine contact basins. And the chlorine contact basins are over there behind us. Questions? This one's really not very afraid. You know, it's a very calm, it's their test duck. As long as the test duck is living and doing fine in there, then we know this water is really good and clean for drinking. Called the chlorine contact basins. Here chlorine is added at the start, but chlorine has to diffuse through the water and it has has to give it time. You have to have time for it to kill the organisms that are in there. So at this point, once the organisms are dead, this water is going to be pretty clean and ready to go back to the Colorado. So for the chlorine to work, it has to go down through this channel. The contact base is designed to give, I think it's about an hour of time of complete contact. So we're essentially slowing the water down through a maze, letting it all slow down so that every little microorganism has an opportunity to interact with the toxic chlorine. After it goes through here, it goes through the building right there. Stop. After that, the water is dechlorinated, and we'll go take a look at exactly where it goes right into the Persigo wash. Let's do it. Persigo wash. The water here is actually cleaner, freer of contaminants and microorganisms than the water that comes down from the Colorado upstream. So this treatment plant does a really nice job. They're very proud of how this water going into the Colorado is good, clean water.
Will you drink it?
Yeah.
So it's not that clean?
Well, I'm not sure I would drink any water directly from the Colorado River. However, I will tell you that the Clifton plant upstream, Clifton brings their water straight out of the Colorado, and then they process it. They have to do more processing than this plant does, but they have to process it for drinking.
Oh, that's what I like.
So, I mean, it's not the same kind of process because this is clearly straight up sewage, but it has to be cleaned as well. There you go. We got 2 more stops to make. We're going to go to the Olympic pool on the ceiling over there. 10 seconds of wide angle, pan across it, and then if you can zoom slowly into some of it so they can see the bubbles.
So basically you got bacteria in here they're eating.
A lot of progress. Aerobic digesters, and what we're doing here is reducing the mass of all the microorganisms that are activated sludge. They're organisms that have been eating this stuff. We don't want their services anymore. We got plenty in the aeration basin. These have been pulled out of secondary clarifiers, and they can also be directed over here directly from the aeration basin if they want to, I believe. But they bring them over here and put them in this big deep tank up here, and they pump in a lot of oxygen. So they're very, very happy, except for one thing, they don't feed them. So all the microorganisms start eating each other, and they cannibalize their way through, and that results in a reduction in the overall biomass of the organisms that are living in here. So when they're done, then they put some polymers in here, they group them together, and then they do a process that sort of sounds like Star Trek. They de-water them. And when they de-water them, they squash them out basically on a conveyor belt, and it looks like a black grit, and that's all that's left. That goes into the backs of dump trucks, and it goes to a landfill. That's the aerobic digesters. Remember not to confuse the different places. The aerobic digesters are here on the 3rd floor. We're on top of a building. These are organisms that are eating each other in the presence of oxygen. So it's a jacuzzi, but it's kind of the chocolate malt jacuzzi kind of thing, where everyone in there is eating each other, cannibalism, okay? The last jacuzzi we were at was the aeration basin. The aeration basin also, they have a lot of oxygen. However, in that case, you're feeding them lots of food. All the sewage is going in there, so they'll eat the sewage. The other digester is an anaerobic digester, meaning a digester without oxygen. And those are the circular ones that have methanogens inside making methane out of the raw sewage in there. Okay? There's 3 things that people kind of confuse. So try and think about those when you're studying for this. It's easy to remember that conveyor belt squashed out, comes out as this black grid over here. Black grid gets dumped down, and that's an actual dump truck carrier right down there at the bottom. So runs through these conveyor belts where it's pressed out and taken to a landfill. So remember, this follows, is right after the aerobic digesters. Of the Persigo water treatment facility. It's been great sharing it with you all. I'm sure that you won't forget the scent soon. You might want to wash your hands on after you get home, in case you've been touching things that are unclean around here. And any questions?